All right, guys, what's happening? What's happening? Good morning to you. It's Tuesday, July 6th, 2021. This morning, we're going to talk a little bit about freedom and what it means to have freedom in 2021. This should be an interesting discussion. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life. And then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, guys, what's happening? Happy Tuesday. It feels like a Monday, but it's really a Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you had an amazing and safe 4th of July weekend. So I figured, man, we started talking this weekend a lot about freedom and a lot about, things going on in the world, our country, and, obviously the 4th of July. What a great holiday. Just a great weekend to kind of remind us of the things that we have in life that we should be thankful for, especially the freedoms that we have, as a country here in the United States, but plenty of countries around the world have freedom as well. And, so it's important for us to remember and talk about this. And so I wanted to jump us off here this Tuesday morning by talking about it. What does it mean to have freedom in 2021? And I think that this will be a topic that'll probably, give all of us a little bit of a harsh reminder of how much we might take freedom, the idea of freedom, for granted. So we're going to jump into that this morning. But as always, I want to say good morning to some folks. What's happening, Trudy? Good morning, Sharon Falk. Rodney, what's happening, brother? Carla, Jared Bird, Sally, good morning to you. Judd Burden, my brother, good to see you're healing up, man. Curtis, good morning to you. Daniel, good morning, man, over on YouTube. Curtis and Daniel watching on YouTube there. Tammy Clark, good morning to you. Rick, good morning. And Nadia, good morning to you guys. All right, so freedom, guys, and for those of you who don't follow along on Instagram, if you have an Instagram account, you just don't spend a lot of time there. I've put a couple posts up about the topic of freedom, and we're going to continue to put out quotes and posts about freedom all week because I think it's an important topic, and I think obviously this time of year is a great reminder of it. It's just an easy time to talk about it, and so we're going to commit to that, talking about this topic all week. So the first thing that I will say, guys, is, freedom is a little bit more fragile than I believe most people think. Right. And as we deal with things as a country, as we deal with things as a people, I think that a lot of times, at least I can speak for, how I feel in our country, in America. I think that a lot of people take our freedom for granted, me included. And, having the freedom to do the things that we do, having the freedom that are given to us by our Constitution and the Bill of Rights, it's not a given, guys. Those things can change, right? And, so I figured we would start off by just reviewing the definition of the word freedom. And so freedom in the dictionary says the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Think about that. The power to or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. And so those last couple of words there, hindrance or restraint, are really, it's really interesting to analyze those definitions, to really think about what it means and how those things really impact. What does it look like to have real freedom? And so the post that I put out last night about freedom talks about the importance of telling the truth. And I'm going somewhere with this. So, the importance of telling the truth, and how unpopular it can actually be today. When we speak the truth, sometimes it's very unpopular. Sometimes it's against the things that are, as many refer to, the narrative today. And I think that one of the things that I want to make sure everybody understands is that, conflict is a really good thing as long as it's respectful, right? As long as we are comfortable standing and talking to each other about the things that are going on in our world. That is really the definition of freedom, isn't it? When you think about, exactly how freedom happens, it happens from, having freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of all these different things. And so what it means to have freedom in 2021 is difficult, right? Because we're starting to get to this time where when we speak out loud, like when we speak kind of how we're feeling, we can be incredibly judged. We can be, attacked. We have this thing going on called cancel culture that is pretty crazy. And in my opinion, threatens freedom in some way, shape, or form. We have to understand that people, regardless of what they might say in a particular moment, they shouldn't be judged for just one singular moment. It's a very dangerous thing. It's a very risky thing. And understanding at the same time that, some of the things that people say certainly are not okay. But when you think about this concept of telling the truth, the only way that you can have personal freedom in 2021, in whatever year it is, in today or in the future, the only way you can have real freedom, and forget what the Constitution says or the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, anything like that. The only way that you can have true freedom is to tell the truth. And the more that we learn to tell the truth with each other, the more that we learn to speak our minds and be accepting of other people and kind of where they're at and what their truth is, the more freedom we have as individuals, as a country, as a world, the more freedom we have, the more freedom we feel. It actually comes from, being willing to tell the truth, being willing to sit in these conversations and actually try to understand, somebody that we don't understand currently, right? You have to be willing to embrace that conflict to really understand people. And so for me, I think what freedom means to me, at least in 2021, it is literally being willing to stand for what's right, but being willing to have a conversation with somebody that you don't understand and being open to these ideas that are happening in the world, right? That all the changes and all the conflict and all the things that are going on, I believe that there's still, a set of principles, a set of guiding principles that have been put forth in our country that, are amazing. If you look at, how our forefathers set this country up, man, they were absolutely brilliant, right? And so from 1776 to today, that has lasted the test of time, right? It has been able to, be able to maintain the greatest country in the world based on this idea of freedom, right? Of having freedoms that other countries don't necessarily have. And so, but it starts and ends, guys, with, being honest with each other, being honest with ourselves. And when we stand for what's right, especially when it's uncomfortable, you will feel that feeling of, true freedom. And it is, it's such a necessity for us to understand, what it really means to experience true freedom. And, I think that as we embrace the conflict with other people, what we will realize is when we look at, let's just use politics for an example. We look at two opposite ends of the spectrum of politics. We look at, just completely opposing opinions. And I challenge you all to do this because I'm a big believer in this, right? That as Americans, we are so powerful, and the division that exists, most of it is for no reason whatsoever, because what we find out when we actually sit down and talk to someone that we would assume is complete opposite of us is that so much of what we believe is almost identical. And when I talk to people, I've said this a lot in the last year with all the political tension and all in the election and all these things. When you think about it, I don't know many friends that actually identify completely as one party or the other. I don't have many friends that believe everything of one side or everything of the other. And so what that means for us guys is that, that we are in a lot of ways being, sold something. We're being marketed something that doesn't necessarily align with who we are. It is more just the system and the way that elections are run. And so we're divided into this two-party system. And then those parties start to create, identities of what they stand for and who they are. And so, one person will say, well, you are this because of that, right? And so we end up getting divided. But if you actually embrace conversation with someone that you don't understand, and you're actually, you can kind of check the emotions out of that conversation and just genuinely try to understand, you will be amazed at how many similarities you actually have to that person. Now, that doesn't happen right out of the gate, because most of the time that turns into a bit of a tense conversation at first, until you get past, some of the things, and you can share what you know, and they can share what they know, and they can share their position, and you can share yours. And what happens, guys, is we start to realize that, we are way more alike than we'll ever be different. And as long as, you come from this place of truth, you come from this place of honesty, you offer grace to the people that don't necessarily agree with you. I love having conversations with people that I don't agree with, because I don't learn from the people that I actually, have everything in common with. We can sit here and talk about all the things that we agree about all day long. That's easy. Where growth happens is from us embracing those people that we don't understand. And I believe that is really probably was one of the goals of our forefathers in the first place, is to provide the freedom of everything, right? The freedom of thought, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of press, the freedom to assemble, the freedom to criticize our government. And so when you think about that, and you think about how we have been taught to interact as a society, it's almost completely counterproductive, isn't it? Where we are taught to, kind of go to our corner and go with those people that agree with us, and not embrace the opposite side. And so to me, I think that freedom in 2021 and beyond, and especially in today's world, is really about trying to understand, trying to come from a great place, just, being open to other people's ideas, having conversations with people that maybe you don't agree with, or you don't understand why they have the position that they have. And I think that as we communicate, I think that, all of the conflict that we have is solved through communication. It's through, having these conversations that are really uncomfortable at times. And what you find is that as you have uncomfortable conversations about all of this, that it actually gets easier, right? It's not that bad to have these conversations. We're just not used to it, right? And we're told, well, these people aren't like you, and this isn't. And so, there's this idea of division that's created. And really, I find, and of course there's exceptions to everything, but I find that most people genuinely have a good heart, genuinely want what they believe is the best for our country. And that is the real definition of freedom, guys, is to have that freedom of thought to come from whatever place that you want to come from. And you learn, and you dig in, and you embrace different ideas and different people, right? And you start to understand that we are all far more alike than we will ever be different. And it's such an important thing for us to realize and never to take for granted, because as we take that for granted, as we, maybe not appreciate the freedoms that we have, they can go away. If you go read history, there are lots of places that freedom has not always lasted the test of time. It's been a very different environment in some countries. The way that they started is not the way that they are today. And so I challenge you guys to think about that. And I challenge you to think about what it means to you to have freedom in 2021. For me, I think that, freedom is way, way, way underrated, and not thought of enough, right? It is not thought about enough just how much of a gift that we have to be able to have these conversations and to be able to, disagree with the things that are going on in our government and do so, in a way that's productive, that pushes our country forward. That our forefathers were just brilliant in the way that they set it all up. And, I think it's important for us to realize that and to embrace the conflict that comes along with freedom, because it does create freedom. But the more that we embrace telling the truth and really understanding, what it means to tell the truth, because telling the truth from your perspective helps somebody else understand. Again, the importance is doing it with kindness and care and respect, right? But I believe that to experience true freedom, it requires honesty with others, honesty with yourself. And sometimes that means stating an unpopular opinion or standing up for what's right, especially when it's unpopular. But if you can find the courage to always tell the truth, you will always have a chance of experiencing true freedom in your life. And so, as the definition says, and as my post on Instagram said yesterday, living free of hindrance or restraint and having the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants is really the definition of freedom, right? So be brave, stand for what's right, especially when it's uncomfortable. And, I think that we all get better from that. I think that as we understand each other more, the world really does become a better place. And that's why it's important for us to have the freedom to speak on those topics and to debate each other and to try and understand and do so, with kindness and grace and understanding and patience and all that kind of stuff. But that's it for today, guys. I hope this message was helpful. I hope it gave you some perspective on just what's going on in the world and how we can be better, right? Like how we can, it doesn't matter what you believe and how far right or how far left you are when it comes to politics. I promise you, just try to understand somebody else. If, you might leave the conversation still disagreeing, but you will understand a little bit more of where they're coming from and kind of the logic behind their position. And, it helps. I promise you, it helps a lot to talk to those that you disagree with. And that is really, to me, what freedom is all about, So I hope you guys have an awesome day. Happy Tuesday to you. Getting back in the swing of things here. It's a short week, so make the best out of it. Make sure that you're productive today. Make sure you're getting organized before you get into the week here. Hopefully you guys did that last night. And I will see you again tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m., same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.